Thank you for joining us for this, wonderful event, and I hope you have enjoyed dinner. And we're going to have an opportunity to learn a little bit about "Is This America" from Mary Watkins. And I think the first question we're going to ask is, how did this all begin?
This all began when I read the book Parting Waters. It was written by Taylor Branch, and he had written 3 volumes of the covering the civil rights movement. I read the first volume, and I thought it was a great book, and right away I started hearing music. I thought, this is great. There's got to be an opera. In fact, I made a point of talking to Taylor Branch about that, and he agreed that nobody had done anything quite like that, and so that it was a good idea. And that was probably, 3 or 4 years before I actually had the opportunity to begin doing it. First of all, I had to decide what part of the civil rights movement I was going to write about, because it was huge and it covered quite a bit of time. I'm trying to think the first place. Oh God, let me think here for a minute. It was I wasn't commissioned to do this immediately. I just wanted to do it, and I wanted to find. I wanted to decide who to focus on, or what part of the movement to focus on. And so, for a while, I read lots of books, and I watched TV, and I watched, the documentaries, and that was all very, very good. I had not heard much about Fannie Lou Hamer, who this opera is about. I had not. I heard about her for the first time in reading this book, Parting the Waters. And at that time, I didn't really think that I would do anything focusing necessarily on her. But I had this desire to do an opera to honor that whole period, the people, their struggle. It was just something that I thought it should be grand. It was no small thing that just happened. It was a big, it was very personal to me. Uh, I was having coffee one day, and I ran into the uh, uh, director of the Oakland Opera Theater Company. And we were talking, and I said, I'm doing an opera. And he said, well, what's it about? And I said, it's about the civil rights movement. And he said, oh, we can get a grant. We can get money for that, just like that. And I thought, oh, okay. Because it was in my mind always that this would happen. I don't know where that, I just believed in it. So, okay, you can get the money. And they did. And we had, and once it was decided that I was going to do this opera, of course, it was a commission, that I finally settled on Fannie Lou Hamer. I read lots of books, and so that's how it came to be. And so we had 6 performances of that, workshop performances of that, in 2009. And that's the way it got started. I followed civil rights. I was very interested in it. I was, from the time I was a very young person. And I remember the thing that that started this whole thing was the murder of Emmett Till. I was very much affected by that. It was very personal to me. And always I wanted to do something. I I want to do something. What can I do about this? And so this is the way I have made my contribution to it.
It's amazing. And I think you've talked about this kind of by the way, but I really would like to talk a little bit more about your connection. You were alive when all of this was happening. You were at Howard University, and a lot of these discussions was happening. So would you just tell us a little bit more about your experience in that period and how that informs your interest in working on this topic?
Well, yes, when I was at Howard, it was in the middle of this whole movement. There was a lot of, it was just part of the air that we were breathing. Um, I had become very conscious of the fact that I, as a Black woman, was composing music, and I wanted to have my own signature. I wanted it to be authentic, and so the music that I grew up with was, uh, the music I heard in church, and then the popular music of the day. I had never heard opera when I was a kid. I never heard that, but the music that I grew up with had such an effect on me. I felt that it should be shared. You see, at that point, it was always, a Black composer or a Black music was blues or spirituals. There's nothing wrong with that. But I was obviously not going to get a degree in blues writing. I mean, uh, I wanted to express the maybe some part of the African diaspora or the soul of the African people, African American people. Um, I I felt very much that it should be done in a formal setting, and that it was worthy of respect. Let's put it out there so people can feel it and listen to it and perhaps perform it. In fact, yes, perform it.
It's amazing. One of the I still remember the moment when I was first given the score and looking through that. There are just several words that Mary has said thus far that just resonated with me, right? Because when I remember seeing it, I was just thinking that there was just such a wonderful, authentic voice to it. That this wasn't artificial. This was coming from her heart, and that everybody who heard it could feel it. And for me, also the interesting thing was, in a way, what you're saying is claiming the space on the biggest stage possible, the operatic stage for this subject and for this music. Would you like to talk a little bit more about like why it had to be an opera, not a play? You said, not a poem, not a novel, an opera.
Well, because the opera is the grand opera. I mean, it's the the epitome. It was the best way that I could think of, and I was sure of, to express the subject. Opera is huge, and the movement was huge. The spirit was huge. The spirit of the people, everything about it was mega. And and this was my way to honor my people. I felt like I wanted to honor my people, uh, and I wanted to give this gift really to the world. I wanted people to not. It wasn't written only for Black people. In fact, it was just written for what I normally thought of as an audience, and it wasn't. It would not have been an audience of just Black people. I wanted people to hear, to listen, and to get the sense of the people and of the spirit of the movement. It was spiritually driven. It I don't like to call it religious, but on the other hand, it was. It was the people involved. Many of them were religious people. They believed uh, it was their faith that allowed them to work through their fear, because it was a fearful time. People paid quite a price who participated in that movement. Um, so it, that's basically, it. I wanted to honor them. It's kind of, bring people together though around this issue. It affects all of us, even if we don't think it does. And it's sort of like blessing the the movement.
That's great. Well, I want to turn it over right now to the audience. If you have any questions for Mary.
Mary, what kind of musical influences would we be listening for in your opera? What kind of American music do you incorporate in your opera? Because, of course, opera traditionally is European, but we're not making European opera. We're making new American opera and trying to find that unique voice. So, how would you say what American musical styles do you think that you have incorporated to make this unique voice?
I'm going to take a moment to repeat it for the microphones, which is that the question is, what kind of musical styles are incorporated or influence your writing here, so that, and what kind of, in particular, American musical styles can we expect to hear in this work?
Well, you can hear. Let's see, where shall I start? First of all, you'll hear a little classic. You'll hear classical, but you will hear my interpretation of that music. You'll hear me. There's there was R&B. There was some Latin. I mean, there was a lot of Latin music where I grew up. I grew up in Colorado, and there's a large Mexican American population there. You heard the church I grew up in. You're going to hear that. I recognize. I think that's when I first got the power of music. The power. Music is medicine. It can transform your life. I wanted to write music that would open your heart, that would open your heart, and I hope it does. But the music that I heard, pop. I heard pop music. I'm trying to think of it. I don't know if any of you remember, are old enough to. Hit Parade. Remember Hit Parade? What was her name? Dorothy Collins, Giselle McKenzie, and Snooky Lance. Those people. That's really dating me. But I heard the pop music of the day, and I every Sunday, of course, I played in the church for many years. I started playing in church when I was 8 years old. We had this little choir that where the youth would have the service every fifth Sunday. So every fifth Sunday was Youth Day, and we did. So I was the little 8-year-old pianist, and I remember we did one of the songs that we did was "Oh, When the Saints Go Marching In," and I was told that I should only read music, do not play by ear. I mean, come on. Really? Okay. So I pretend not to play, but I knew how to read, so I would keep it, you know. But when it came to when the Saints go marching in, I mean, come on, I had to do a little something with it. And from that moment on, they stopped, trying to stop me. They let me express as I felt. Um, I think I probably wandered off the subject, but it the music I can't say enough about what I heard growing up in my church. We got at the time we didn't have a pipe organ. We had one of those big Wurlitzer electric organs that sort of sounded like a pipe organ. And the first time I heard it, like, ah, all of those things have come into play. I mean, all of these things influenced me greatly, still to this day. I played in the school orchestra and the school band. I got opportunity to play a lot of classical music, to listen to a lot of the radio, to classical music. So all of it I loved, but I thought, I want to hear, there's something that's missing. And what was missing was the it was the black the black uh, music. I guess I'd call it black. The spirit of the black people. I was missing a little bit of that, and I always wanted to hear it. And I felt that it was legitimate, but it just was not being expressed. It was sort of on the sidelines. We didn't talk about it in theory, in music theory, so it apparently was kind of, and I wanted to honor that. I wanted to, that's about us. And it's really not just, we're not talking about just black people, it's about us. It's about our spirit, and it's about our love and our looking forward, embracing one another.